Everybody is wondering what's next for the Star Trek movie franchise. Well, the Trek franchise in general, including myself, longtime fan. I grew up on Star Trek Next Generation. And with Starfleet Academy, let's just say, not doing very well, people are worried. Is the franchise going to die? Do we have anything in the works? Well, today we're going to cover the reboot. That's right. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Jimmy or Chaos. Remember, I read every single comment on every single video. And the short version is, Paramount is officially developing a new Trek movie. But it looks very different from what people are expecting. Now, we're hearing from people like Variety and Deadline, sites like Cinema Blend, that the old Kelvin timeline, which is Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, all of them, is not coming back for now. Now, they leave the door cracked. They say for now. They don't say for good. Instead, the studio has switched gears to a completely fresh story. Reports say Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daley, the Spider-Man Homecoming writers, are now writing and directing a new Star Trek film. That's completely a new take on the franchise. So in other words, no returning Kirk, no returning Spock, none of that. This will probably be the biggest shakeup since Starfleet Academy. Well, in the movie lineup, that is. So we're going to break down what's confirmed, what's unknown, and what we can expect from this. Drop a like, make sure you guys are subscribed. And for context, remember how stuck Star Trek movies have been since Star Trek Beyond 2016? Paramount tried so many times to get a new film going. I mean, you had Quentin Tarantino's idea, to Noah Hawley's unmade project, to Matt Shakman's version, but nothing came to life. Then at CinemaCon in 2024, Paramount quietly announced an origin story movie directed by Toby Haynes, who also did Andor and Doctor Who, which is really exciting, with a script by Seth Grahame-Smith. Now, the pitch was that it would be decades before the 2009 reboot film, meaning far earlier in Trek history, likely, I would say, the early 22nd century. Even had a rough 2025 release date on the studio schedule, which obviously didn't happen. And it was pretty exciting at the time because it promised something new beyond the Kirk-Spock saga that we've always gotten. Then, a lot happened. The biggest change was, as always, corporate shakeup. Skydance Media, which co-produced the 2009 to 2016 Trek reboots, it was set to merge with Paramount. David Ellison, Skydance's CEO, now leads Paramount Pictures, and insiders say Ellison wants to relaunch the Trek franchise from scratch. In the previous plan, the Toby Haynes origin movie and the fourth Kelvin film, they may have been casualties of that shift. For example, Variety reported that in late of last year, the company hoped to conjure a new Star Trek movie, though it's moved on from the idea of bringing back Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, and the rest of the cast. So, in all terms, there is no Star Trek 4 for now. The Pine Quinto crew are not currently in the picture. I mean, after years of false starts, honestly, Paramount now has a clear plan, apparently, for a new Trek movie. But looks like they're going to start over again instead of finishing the old reboot saga. So the 2024 origin announcement with Haynes and Grahame-Smith, it's official. But everything we hear suggests it's been parked in favor of a new Goldstein Daley project. So what could this actually be? Well, if we're worried about the quality coming out of the chute for Trek right now, we should be very scared. Starfleet Academy, I could make a video on it, but let's just say it's not everybody's cup of tea. And if this was greenlit and they were all on the same page here, it really worries me when it comes to a reboot. I mean, the one thing we know for sure is what Paramount officially announced in 2024. Toby Haynes is attached to direct an untitled Star Trek prequel, and it's written by Seth Grahame-Smith. Now, reports describe it as an origin story, and it takes place decades before the reboot. So that implies to me that we're in the 22nd century or earlier, well before Kirk's Enterprise. I mean, this could cover things like the early Federation or the early Starfleet, or even humanity's first big space battles. Now, at the time, it was slated to begin production in 2024, and we were supposed to get it last year. We know that's not happening. And then just months later, reports emerged that Paramount had tapped Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daley, the team behind Spider-Man Homecoming, Dungeons and Dragons, all that, to write, produce, and direct. According to Deadline, their project is described as a completely new take on Star Trek. In other words, it will not be connected to any past movies or TV shows, neither Prime nor Kelvin timeline, none of it. That's big. It basically means we're getting brand new characters and a brand new timeline or any type of continuity. So Paramount's developing two Trek films in parallel. One is Goldstein Daley's new original movie, and the other is the one we talked about with Toby Haynes' origin story. I mean, the reporting is that Goldstein Daley's movie has now taken priority over the previously announced Origins one from 2025, which I'm not a fan of, honestly. I mean, in practice, this suggests to me that Paramount's focusing on the Goldstein Daley film first, and the Haynes project has probably been put on hold. In fact, Cinema Blend explicitly noted that the original origin story movie has fallen by the wayside. Now, let's really quick, because you guys always seem to want to talk about the Kelvin timeline, let's talk about the status here. The Chris Pine era, right? It's mostly bad. As I said, the studio has moved on from the cast. Several inside sources have said Star Trek 4, Pine's Star Trek, is officially or effectively dead in the water for now. Chris Pine himself even joked he knows less than we do about Trek's future. And it's probably time to make peace with just 3 rebooted films. Nobody from that crew has announced for any upcoming Trek movie. They're doing TV and Paramount, but the movie side, I don't think it's happening. And there's no official word when any of this will shoot or be released with the new stuff. Initially, we talked about a quick turnaround, right? 2025, but that didn't happen at all. So best now, we're talking about 2027. So what we do know here is that Paramount has an upcoming Star Trek Origin prequel. That's Haynes and Grahame-Smith. And then late last year, we have a separate Trek film by Goldstein and Daley that's now in development. I mean, the new film is said to be completely fresh and appears to have taken priority over the origin story. So we'll have to wait and see what happens, but where would we honestly go with either one of these? I mean, we only have vague decades before 2009 in the description. I mean, my guess would be it's early 22nd century, based on the phrasing. And one analysis noted that the timeline diverged in 2233 in the reboot backstory. So a film in a few decades before that could fit the continuity. So anything from the 2180s through the 2250s, it's wide open for stories. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, we'll see if it ties into known history, like before or after Federation's actually founded. And as for characters and cast, I have no idea. The Goldstein Daley film is explicitly said to feature brand new characters, so likely no legacy characters will appear, or if they do, it would be in cameos. Even for the Haynes Origin movie, there has been no casting announcement, no news at all. It's all purely speculative. And same with the story. We have 0 official story beats. We don't know if it involves humans' first warp flight, the founding of Starfleet Federation. I mean, I think Federation was formed in 2161. We don't know if it's going to be a war or something else entirely. The only guideline is origin story, which could mean anything from the first contact with aliens to founding a new organization. And I've read your comments in the past. You don't want to see the first warp flight again. I get it. So we'll have to wait and see what they do there. And as for production, there's no sign. I mean, cameras are not rolling. Remember, in development can mean very early script talks or even just an idea. It could be storyboarding. The claim that Seth's script is done and heading for a 2025 shoot, well, that obviously never happened. So here's my best guess. We're going to get one of these 2 movies probably around 2027. We may get a trailer by the end of this year, but that's really, really pushing it. What's more than likely going to happen is we get a trailer in 2027, and then we may get it at the end of the year, or we get it into 2028. It bothers me because Trek is such a huge franchise. And I know it's always put up next to Star Wars and the fandom and everything, but it's really not fair what they're doing and how they're handling this franchise when it comes to the fans. It's really not. And then we talk about Starfleet Academy for just a second. What are we even watching, to be honest with you? I mean, what are we literally watching? I'm through 3 episodes right now, and my mind's blown. It really is. There's so many discrepancies and so many loopholes and so many canon plots that don't make sense. They just, I don't know. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to cater to a new, younger audience and pander to that audience to bring them into the Trek world. But that's not the Trek world. That's the problem with Starfleet Academy. But once again, if you guys want me to make a video, we could hash that out. I could definitely do it. But as for now, 2 movies are still active. They're not dead in the water, but the Kelvin timeline looks like it's dead in the water. And I'll keep you guys posted if anything new breaks.